Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Sembrano.
Evan Klosky.
Host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can subscribe to Locked On Rays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and online at fanstreamsports.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and you can email us lockedonrays@gmail.com. This episode is brought to you by Spotify Green Room. Download the app and join Ulysses and I this week to get in on the Tampa Bay Rays action and conversation. That's Spotify Green Room. Okay, it is a Friday show, which means we're again pleased to be joined by WTSP Channel 10 Tampa Bay Sports Director Evan Klosky. Evan, how's it going today?
Oh, well, I'm a little bit overdressed for the occasion versus our usual meetings.
I really hope you post this Zoom recording somewhere because you've got the makeup, you've got the shirt and tie on. You are spiffy, sir.
If not the whole thing, at least pointing out the fact that I'm dressed and you guys are not. Well, I should say you guys are dressed. You're just not dressed.
Yeah. We're
like
never
dressed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I don't want to paint a picture out there for the listeners. It's misguided.
Yeah. I mean,
we're not Jeffrey Toobin over here.
Yeah. I've got a tie-dye shirt and I promise I'm wearing shorts. There we go. How about that?
Yeah. I think Evan dressed up specifically because the Rays won a game against the Mariners. Like that was such a historic accomplishment, right?
Yeah. I'm waiting for the pennant to go up in the trop.
There we go.
Right next to the 2020 accolades. Boom.
Yeah.
Beat the Mariners one time, 2021.
Yeah.
By the way, that whole Mariners thing, I blame Ulysses' significant other, being that she is from the Seattle area, correct? Am I right?
Yeah. She's from Big Harbor. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but close enough.
Beautiful area out there in the Pacific Northwest. If you've never been, go in the summer. It's beautiful.
Okay, so I blame Ulysses' girlfriend for that, and also listener Cheryl, who invited us to
getting
the game.
Thrown under the bus.
Well, she mentioned on Twitter that Seattle was like her second favorite team besides the Rays. So I think that's where the mumbo jumbo comes from with the Rays struggles against.
It is funny because Cash after the game did mention that they could not overcome Cheryl. That Cheryl was just a bit of a.
Cheryl did it.
Hindrance. Yeah.
You work in the batting cage, but at some point Cheryl's just going to win.
I know.
Yeah.
It happens that way.
There we go. Okay. So Ulysses, we've had this discussion extensively this week on the show, and of course want to get Evan's take and reaction on this. Tyler Glasnow, he has undergone Tommy John surgery this week, and he will most likely be out until 2023. There were reports earlier this week from the Athletics, Ken Rosenthal, reporting that the Rays were throwing around Glasnow and Kiermaier in a possible deal with Chris Bryant and Craig Kimbrell. Of course, that deal never materialized. So with that, Evan, what is the future of Tyler Glasnow in a Rays uniform?
I still believe he will pitch for the Rays in 2023, only because it's a tall order to trade for a guy coming off Tommy John and working him back. Because even in 2023, he's going to have to be in an innings limit. And I mean, we're seeing it right now with Noah Syndergaard and Chris Sale. You know, Tommy John surgery, though people do recover and they have a prosperous major league career, it takes a really long time. Now, Glasnow having the injury in the middle of the year does help. But, let's use Syndergaard as an example. He got injured in April of last year, and we are in August, and we still have not seen him. And that's, of course, because he had a setback there. But I don't know what the Rays are going to get back for Glasnow, and at some point you might as well just ride it out, have him come back and after 2023, we can have the discussion of whether or not he's going to pitch again in a Rays uniform, which if he has a great year, then probably not. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. But we're going to have to revisit that. And, next trade deadline, if for some reason there's a team out there willing to find value in bringing in a guy who's a year away.
I want to post this to you. Do you believe that the Rays are the team that would be willing to have the second highest paid player not even throw one single pitch and just riding the whole year on the bench? Do you think that is something that they're willing to say, okay, this is worth it?
No, I think in black and white terms, absolutely not. Having said that, the Rays, I don't think do business by just giving away glass now. I think there's a balance to their methodology. They are very calculated. They are very good at selling high and getting a bunch of guys they believe in who are up and coming. With glass now, it's to sell low. And I don't know if they really are going to love the idea of just giving glass now away for nothing when he could materialize into an asset. Let's say he comes back in 2023 and looks the same guy and it becomes a trade deadline and, maybe the team's in it, but at that point, there might be a surprise of them trading glass now after investing all this time. It's one of those deals where I would not be shocked if they traded glass now. I just don't know. It would be unlike them just to kind of say, here you go, here's a tremendous talent and we'll take nothing back. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that if you were looking at him like a stock, even though you're going to be paying dividends on that stock and not seeing any returns, there is that ceiling where you still might get your money back and then some if he becomes the dude that you think he can become. So that will be a question that we find out in due time, over time, as he starts working his way back. So in next season, by the trade deadline, we can have this discussion again and see where they're at. And if reports are going well and things are looking good, then yeah, maybe a team that is having a crap year will take him in sort of a package deal and it'll be a nice little cherry on top to make something work.
Yeah, it's really tough. I don't disagree with that. I just look at it from the viewpoint of the Rays were already shopping him and trying to deal him to the Cubs not a week ago when his value, quite frankly, couldn't be any lower than it is right now. So that makes me wonder about the financial implications of things. And I don't know. I feel like the Rays we don't know what their finances are coming off the pandemic and so forth, but they've already gotten burned on Chris Archer. They've already gotten burned on Yoshi Tsutsugo. They've in a way sort of not gotten burned on KK. Look, we can talk about his defensive value and what he provides. So that makes it really tough for me to think that Glasnow is going to continue to be on the team and collect however much that figure will be in arbitration. Let's assume $6, $7, $8 million to ride the bench, to rehab, not throw a pitch, for the team. And that money could, and like I mentioned earlier this week, that money theoretically could be shifted around to produce an extension for one of the young talents.
To Evan's point, let's say the 6 to 8 million is what he'll get paid in 22 if he doesn't throw a pitch, right? In 23, the race is not going to be that crazy because, again, he didn't pitch in 22. So arbitration is not really going to help him there. So let's make it 8 million in 22 and 8 million in 23, just for the sake of argument. So if you're the Rays, are you willing to pay $16 million for, let's say, 15 starts for 120 innings, which, by the way, he has never thrown 120 innings in an MLB team. So if he's back with no setback, I think that's a good price for that type of pitcher, $16 million. I think that's great. The problem is will he have no setbacks? There's a lot of question marks, I think. Yeah.
Here's a hot take. Do you try and work out an extension with Glasnow and maybe get him on the cheap And if you're going to take the L in funds, if you're going to take the $16 million, let's throw that number out there. All right. Maybe you can work out a deal where the next 2 seasons he's making 6 and 6, and then you give him a little bit more on the back end to make up for whatever, a guy like Glasnow. I don't know if he at this point in time would want security of a paycheck in long term. So, but the big takeaway from that article also is, yes, they were shopping him, but yes, they were trying to be creative. And yes, the Cubs still in the end said it's not worth it. Right. And that's the whole point. If they really thought all this stuff, and why wouldn't you do it this year when you're you're in the race? Like if you were going to get rid of him for just no value, then might as well have just done it this year when you're in first place. Well, at that point they were on the precipice of being in first place, and just get on with it. Right. That's why sink yourself into 1 year waiting when you can do just 2 years. So I don't know. It's complicated. And one thing we know about the Rays, I just mentioned creativity. I'm curious to see how they navigate this, because it's never just a straight line of one stream of thought.
Yeah. How about this? Is there a scenario where Glasnow and Kiermaier are collecting paychecks from the Rays in 22 together? Maybe it's one or the other. It has to be one or the other for them.
Exactly. I feel like that. That's a great question. I don't think that the two of them can be on the same payroll. I want to geek out a little bit here, but isn't that the Harry Potter line? Like, neither can live while the other survives. Kind of the same.
You're asking the wrong person for Harry Potter quotes and facts and figures.
I do. The KK thing, of course, is, getting to the end of that contract and the money is looking a little bigger, and the Rays maybe could give a little prospect away with KK's contract to a team and say, hey, he's great. The problem is the Rays truly do value his defense, and I think anybody who looks at the analytics and understands just how tremendous his defensive value is, you understand it as well. He's a positive WAR player. I know how infuriating he is to watch hit sometimes, but he still has a net positive impact on the team throughout the season. So, the Rays, the problem is they got to convince the team to take his salary in, and you would assume that means giving up a prospect. Now, the depth in their system, is different for other teams, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's certainly part of the 2022 offseason, or this upcoming offseason, of what's going to happen there.
I know we're getting away from it, but I would really enjoy watching KK in a big market like the New York Mets, for example. Like, I feel
New York Mets need a lot of help. Please send anyone who knows how to put a bat on a ball and can reach first base.
Yeah.
Like, Kev, with your slap singles and softball, I need you on the Mets right now.
Exactly.
You need some Matt Duffy action is what you need. How's Rich Hill doing, by the way, for the Mets?
Honestly, Rich Hill is the same guy. Though against the Marlins, he went through 5 strong, giving up no earned runs. But his sequence of events is get through 4 unscathed and then blow up in the 5th. So it's still the same sort of Rich Hill that we saw with the Rays.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the rub with Kiermaier and Glasnow. We talk about, a team take Kiermaier off our hands if we throw in a prospect. That's a losing effort. That's just a money grab there for the Rays. To me, I would
salary
think,
dump. Yeah.
If you're going to go through all that, you might as well just keep him on the roster and try to navigate his defensive value. You can't say, I would think that what he brings to the clubhouse and what he brings when he's on the field defensively, not much offensively, we know. That's a game changer, literally, for the pitching staff, for the starters, for the bullpen. And I don't know how, to me, it doesn't make sense to give away Kiermaier where the option is, we got to throw in a prospect for this other team to take on the salary, or we've got to eat some of the money for him to go away. In that case, you might as well just bite the bullet and keep them with your team and have them produce you some WAR defensively.
And who knows, at the end of the season, there might be a team. Look, there are a few teams out there who are just defensively terrible. Miami is actually one that comes to mind, right? I mean, if you want to go to Jeter and company and say, hey, take Kiermaier for a year, you have great pitching. That's what you built your entire rebuild on. Here's some defense. Give us back whatever, but just take the money. Now the Marlins are also with their payroll. They do the same thing, but you get it.
Yeah.
No, I like that. But Kevin, I want to hear you. What do you think about the Glasnow and Kiermaier? Do you see them on the same team in 2022? Again, like I said,
I think one of them has to go. I think,
same.
Personally, if I had the money, if I was the owner and I would, freight the cost, I would try to keep them both. But we know how the Rays operate and we know how they've been burned in the past. So I would think that it might have to be one or the other because look, we got a comment here from a couple comments actually from a listener. This one from Tyler Lorenz. He says, you guys say it's too much to pay Glasnow, the second most on the team, to sit out next year, yet we pay KK over $10 million to not produce at all year after year. Again, not quite true because, Kiermaier's been the second,
harsh.
Yes, he's been the second most valuable defensive player in all of baseball since 2012, behind only Andrelton Simmons. And again, you asked the starters, you asked the bullpen how much they like having a guy like that up the middle. They'd much rather have him than, Jared Kelenic or somebody like that, who's not going to make those plays at the Trop. So that's one thing. Look, I think it comes down to the money with that. And then here's another point too, by Scott Radigan regarding the Glasnow stuff. He says, this is an interesting wrinkle here. The new CBA may change the equation. Same for arbitration guys and potentially Rule 5 eligible prospects as well. So that's another thing that might have to be taken into consideration with all.
And
this.
we will worry about that when it comes to it. I still want to hope that there's baseball next season. That's, if we want to get into that discussion.
Yeah.
This might not matter. We might not have a year. So it doesn't, we might just skip right over that KK season.
I'm 100% with you. Like, I just want a season, but Scott's bringing a good point. Of course, it's the CBA, but this is very murky waters, people. And I really want us to know, yes, the CBA is not this magical thing that it's going to fix like the 27,000 problems that baseball has. Yeah. It's not. I honestly think we brought it into the Locked On MLB hosts on our personal DM or chat and saying, I think it would be a great idea to get all 30 MLB hosts plus to kind of go, what do you think are the top 3 things that the CBA should focus in on? Because honestly, I think it's just going to be 1 or 2 things. It's not going to be a major overhaul of things. That's what everybody thinks. But at the end of the day, they're just going to make 1 or 2 changes and that's it.
And I want to also just mention this before we move on. We keep talking about, like KK and Glasnow and it's money. And I mean, what money do they really have on the books for next season? That is
a good point.
Think about it. They really don't have anything that they are attached to. The one guy long-term that they're attached to is Brandon Lau. And if you want to talk about I didn't see that coming move in the offseason, wouldn't be surprised if it was Lau. And I like Lau. He's I said this on Twitter and I wish I would have thought of it. And my friend said it, but he's literally like Brandon, like Gallo, like you gotta spell it out. Like he is Joey Gallo Jr. If he just got on base more, he would be Joey Gallo. So I think he has certain value for a lot of teams. They're looking for a lefty power hitter, and you can easily sell him to a squad and get something. I mean, that contract is juicy. So
100%. And you got a great point there, because who do you got on the books? KK, of course, Lau, and Zunino with the $4 million that could jump up to $7 million if they use him as they said that they would to earn the $7 million, which if he earns $7 million, that means that he has to be in 100 games plus. So if you use him at your spots, you don't have to pay him the $7 million.
Yeah, those are good points. Now, you do have several players going to arbitration. I believe Yandy Diaz, Ji-Man Choi, yes, Joey Wendell, and that might provide opportunities for Vidal Brujan and Taylor Walls and all those guys, Josh Lowe, for example. So yeah, I don't know. Evan, you're starting to convince me that Glasnow might be on the team next year.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he will be. I'm just not convinced that he won't be. I just, and not to mention, not that the Rays have ever given a hoot about this either, but he is beloved in the clubhouse, and he does provide that chemistry as well. But as I said, the Rays have a long history of giving away guys that they were ready to give away KK and Glass now. So I don't think that really factors that much.
3 days ago, I was with you, Evan. 3 days ago, I was with you. And then I've heard Kevin stands for so long, the last 48 hours. I'm like, okay, no, you're right. I was being too irrational as a fan. Yeah. He's gone. And now I hear your take again. I'm like, well, maybe there's a chance.
And that's why it's almost like a 50-50. That's where the poll results came up.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. I think there's a good argument for why he's gone. I think there's a good argument for why he might be staying. And I think the Rays, I think Eric Neander and company with that whiteboard that they were erasing all day during the trade deadline, I think they do the same thing. And I think they're going to have the same hard decisions to make in the offseason as well, to try to figure out if cutting bait is the right move and just taking the L, or holding tight and tinkering around that and just kind of like nurturing that future, ceiling and seeing if you can turn that into a proper investment.
Right.
Heck of a transition, Evan. That's why you're a professional. The trade deadline, and of course, tied in with the news of Tyler Glass now that he would be out and getting Tommy John surgery. There were a lot of upset Rays fans because the Rays, in their viewpoint, didn't do more at the trade deadline besides getting Nelson Cruz. They added big names, DJ Johnson, Jordan Luplow.
DJ Johnson, by the way, leads the league in beard oil.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We were joking. Ulysses and I were at the game on Monday. We were joking. That could be like the new where you hide pine tar or some sticky substance. You just hide it in your beard there. They might have to do some beard checks. Check Kittredge while you're at it.
Yeah. What about beard oil? Beard oil. Could that give you a little bit of grip? I don't know.
Yeah. But with that said, Evan, in your viewpoint, should the Rays have done more with their starting rotation, adding another big name arm, like I said on last week's show, a Merrill Kelly-esque type of guy, or just roll with what they have, which is presently the rotation of Yarbrough, McClanahan, Walker, Fleming, Patino, and then perhaps down the line, Shane Baz and Chris Archer, among others?
Yeah, so I think I'm in a minority here, and maybe it's because I'm not emotionally attached to the team and I haven't rooted for them for eons and eons. But what did you want the Rays to do? The only name in free agency. So, okay, Max Scherzer was traded with Trey Turner.
There it is, Scherzer. He mentioned it. He loves to bring up Scherzer.
No, but I'm using it as an right. Everybody wants like Scherzer, right? Yeah. Scherzer, I think we all could agree that whatever package you could have came up to get Scherzer, you do it because he is a game changer in the postseason. Yes. He is a difference maker. The next guy after Scherzer was Berrios. Now, I will admit Berrios is great. He's got a year of control, and not to mention with Glass now out for next season, which they knew entering, with the deadline, they said that played into a factor that bridges the Glass now gap. Having said that, if I give you Berrios on this roster, does it dramatically change what is going to happen in the postseason? If I got Berrios versus Garrett Cole, give me anybody. Lance Lynn from the White Sox. No matter what, the Rays will have a good chance in that game. But Berrios is an playoff proven. He's very young too. He's got great stuff, but he's not. Let's not make him out to be Cy Young here. He's a very good pitcher, all-star caliber pitcher. But it wasn't. He wasn't having the same type of season this year as he was in the past. So it's just you're trying to fit a puzzle piece into a puzzle that is just disoriented. All right. The Rays have so many injuries that they are where they are right now because of their bullpen, right? They have created the system where we're going to go 5 and we're going to just get through it. And I did all the numbers on TV that night, and in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, they are a top 2 team in the league. And those numbers might have changed a little bit, but at that point, they were a top 2 team in the league with their ERA in each inning. And, sometime the 6th inning, by the way, was worse than the 7th. 7th was worse than the 8th. 8th was worse than the 9th. So it kept going down as you got further into the game. Then in extras, it exploded. It was terrible. They're terrible in extras, which we can go into a larger discussion that when they get into extras, they are cut so thin that they force their pitchers to go an extra inning. And when they do that, they're screwed because they work outside the means of what is actually possible of this makeshift bullpen that they put together. But they've gotten to this point based on their bullpen. And no matter what's going to happen, no matter who you wanted in there, if you wanted Merrill Kelly, Kyle Gibson, John Lester, like whoever you name me, you cannot
Cole
tell
Hamels.
like you cannot tell me that when you put them on the roster in the postseason and they're out there pitching, that you are excited about them going, that you're not nervous. If they sign Scott Kazmir off Team USA Baseball, are you not going to be, crapping a brick that he's pitching in the game against Garrett Cole? Like, no, what I think is going to happen is I think that the Rays are going to ride Patino, McClanahan, and Boz. I think Boz is coming up in September.
Hot take.
I think he's going to come up, and I think he's going to be just like we saw last season, right? We saw guys making their big league debut in the postseason. I think the Rays have learned that pitchers are volatile in nature, especially health-wise. So while we believe that, you're young and got a promising future, it doesn't always work out that way. Maximize the usage that you can get out of those young guys while you can. And not that Patino and McClanahan have been perfect. They have not. They've had, some bumpy spots, but you're just asking them to go 5. Just like you were asking Blake Snell to go 5. It's, you can give me your stars. I get it. Last year you had Snell, Morton, and a Glasnow, and that is significantly better than what you're going to try out there this year. And I'm not saying that things are going to work out for the Rays in the postseason because they don't have starters. It's a problem. It is a big problem. The only point that I have is that this was a year entering it of transition. Yeah. We knew it, and we shouldn't be surprised that they're a team that doesn't really have an identity starting pitching wise when they entered the year throwing a bunch of darts with Rich Hill, Michael Wacha, and Chris Archer to kind of make it happen for a year while the young guys got groomed. So what we should be surprised about is how good the bullpen is. And if you've made it this far on your bullpen, why change the formula now? Just ride it out. Let's see how it goes.
And to your point, though, of being built by that bullpen and not really having, to ask so much of the starters, just 5 innings, what was the key missing piece last year? It was the offense. And what did you do? At the trade deadline, you got the biggest trade deadline acquisition ever for this franchise in Nelson Cruz, a guy who, he's 41, but that also means experience, and he knows how to battle the slumps of an MLB season. He knows. And if you look at his OPS, he's gone up and down. If he doesn't have a 900, 1,000 OPS, then he's hitting like 650 in OPS in this season. But that was the move. The move wasn't a starting pitcher, because a Merrill Kelly and a Jose Berrios is not going to be the difference maker. The difference maker, if you're the Rays, it's that punch in the middle of the lineup. It's having a guy who is not afraid of facing a Aroldis Chapman and taking him deep like he did this season. Maybe not wearing a Rays uni, but with the Minnesota uni. So I think you're right. I think what was the missing piece? It wasn't the starters. I know I was also kind of disappointed they didn't get an arm, but when you look at it that way of what is actually missing, hey, it's a transition year. You got to let these guys take their lumps. Then it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that disappointment that we had was before we found out the news regarding Tyler Glasnow, because we had hope that, Glasnow, we can get him to return. We can get him back on track for September, October. We just need this number 2. We need a reliable number 2 to get us through the playoffs. And of course, Glasnow out, that really throws a wrench in the plans. And for the Rays, you would think, to your point, Evan, why add Berrios? How does that really move the meter all that much, especially with the cost of those of Berrios?
And that's the thing too. Yeah, when you look at what the Blue Jays gave, like in my opinion, the Blue Jays gave up way too much. They gave up way too much. They gave up a top 20 prospect in baseball and a top 70 prospect in baseball, who I'm really not that high on, but a former Mets farmhand. But that would have been the equivalent of Bruhan and you probably like Josh Lowe. So
I think it would have
No.
taken like a Boz and a Bruhan. You'd probably have to.
Yeah,
throw
I'm not
Boz
doing
in
that.
yeah,
After all this time of developing, changing his
and I will say that
mechanics,
you're probably right, because that's what you would have had to do to beat the offer of the Blue Jays, right? You have to beat them. That offer beats it. So yeah, and then you look at your roster. It's like, if we look at this from probabilities, if Berrios isn't going to move the needle from a postseason standpoint, then why am I mortgaging my future for this run where it's an imperfect team that has performed to the tippy top of its ceiling? I don't think any of us had the ceiling that they have right now. I am so impressed with what this bullpen has done. And we haven't mentioned the defense. They do it through bullpen and defense. It's not sexy, but it gets the job done. But Eric Neander and company have figured it out that whatever analytics they have on this slider stuff, they love pitchers who throw sliders and sinkers, and that is their money ball. And it doesn't matter who you throw in there. It doesn't matter who they pick up. When you look at the pitches they throw, they don't throw fastballs. None of them. You get one or two fastballs an inning from them.
They're asking dudes who sell solar panels, hey, can you throw a slider? Oh, okay, cool. Then you're in the major league team. Like it's crazy.
Lewis Head is awesome. He deserves to stay up when the shuffling goes down. That guy, all he's done at both levels, by the way, is perform. So
yeah. 100%.
And also, I think the defense behind those pitchers has a little something to do with it, as compared to reliever on the Angels or some other team with that. Okay, Evan, we have a little bit of time for baseball trivia. You have a little ditty for us today?
Yeah. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 different pitchers who in a single postseason have won 2 or more games. One player has done it twice. Can you name 4 of the 6? And that might be too easy. I might ask for 5 of the 6.
Okay. So pitchers in the postseason who have won 2 games or more in the same postseason.
Yes.
Andy Pettit.
No, so on the Rays. Sorry, for the Rays.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still strike
Morton.
one. Strike one. Just
What? Foul tip, baby. Okay. Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton, yes. 3-2. I believe he leads the franchise in playoff wins.
I believe he does. I'm going to go with Blake Snell.
That's 2. He had 2 last year.
Okay. Then we got to go back. I believe David Price got that win in 2013, but then were we booted off? We were booted off against the Red Sox, but did we win that? Okay, I'm going to go with David Price.
No.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't win that one. Okay. I don't want to say Shields because I believe he was never Victor. I'm going to go with Casimir. Let's go with Scotty K.
No.
Dang, I'm out.
Okay. You didn't say Matt Garza, did you?
Matt Garza is one of them.
Good one.
Ooh, thank you. Matt Moore.
Nope.
Oh boy. Last guess.
Oh, wait, hold up.
Okay.
No, I'm just giving you signs. I'm a third base coach. I'm giving you signs here. Okay, so we got Garza.
Yep.
We've got.
You said Morton. And you and you said
Snell.
Yeah.
Snell, Garza, Morton. Okay, one more. Snell, Garza, Morton. Come on.
Ulysses, are you thinking like not recently, but in the 2008 to 2014-ish range?
Yes.
Oh boy.
I love this guy, but I don't know if he got 2 in a row. I know he definitely got 1.
I'm thinking either Alex Cobb or Jeremy Hellickson. I need to sign.
No. Okay, it can't be Cobber because that game that we won was a walk-off with Lobaton hitting that home run in the Ray tank. So it couldn't have been a starter pitching getting that W.
Okay.
And that was the only W in 2013. So it can't be Cobb.
All right, Evan, this is just my third base coach helping me out. Swing or not swing. All right, I'm going to do it. Jeremy Hellickson.
No.
Oh,
and for the second straight week, Ulysses names a player, says it's not him, and it's it. Shields was one of them. He had 2. Guys didn't mention Glass now. I feel like that was the Mike.
Well,
Piazza.
because he has this stigma of being a poor postseason pitcher. That's
had
right.
like a
it was the Mike Piazza move for me in week 1, where right in front of your face we talked about him all podcast. And Sonnenstein.
I was thinking
Sonny?
Sonnenstein. I was thinking.
No, you were not.
Yes, I was.
My God.
I was about to guess him.
Oh,
Darn it.
friend of the pod.
That was a good one. That was worth it. Evan spent about a half an hour preparing this trivia question.
I had to
and he whiffed us. He got us good. Dang.
I had it so much easier earlier today, and I lost the link.
That was good.
You know, Ulysses, even Vlad Guerrero and Barry Bonds, they strike out, or they don't produce on occasion. You are like the Rays trivia version of Bonzi.
Well, you know what? The last 2 weeks
Evan's gotten the better of you the last couple of weeks. So you got to pick
the last 2 weeks have gone, 1 for 5 with 3 Ks. I mean, is that really producing at the plate?
It's really below expectations. You're like Nelson Cruz with the Rays so far.
There you go.
I'm getting those vibes. Evan, where can people find your work?
Again, hit me up on Twitter at eklosky, ECLOSKY WTSP on Twitter. As I always say, 99.9% of the time, I'm going to respond as long as you are a good human being and not going below the belt. You can be a bad human being, just don't go below the belt.
There we go.
And then you can also hit me up on Facebook, Instagram at eklosky, but then also 10tampabay.com. We have everything covered between Rays news, Buccaneers training camp, the Lightning, and we just came off the boat parade. But in about a month here, we'll be talking about them as they'll begin preseason. So yeah, anything that you need Tampa sports, come to 10 Tampa Bay. Man. As we just had all the Olympians actually come home, and we were talking with all of them, so that was cool.
That was pretty cool coverage. And I'm going to say something. I think I'm going to lose a little bit of you both, of both of yours attention when the Bucks start to play. Because I know you guys are really into football, so I'm going to maybe lose you a little bit.
I'm baseball through and through, but I will certainly be locked in, no pun intended, on the Bucks season, just as per the demographic of the area.
Yes.
You're literally locked on Bucks on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Evidently now.
That's right. And please join me on Wednesdays, Locked On Bucks with James. We're starting that up. Just got the first couple pods off the ground here as we get through training camp. And of course, once the season gets rolling, we'll have a lot more fun. As I'm not going to lie, the team is returning everybody. Sometimes there's not that much to talk about when literally everyone is back.
You can just admit that you have more fun with us. You're cleaning up a little bit. Okay. That wraps up this edition of the Locked On Rays podcast. Now tell your smart device to play the most recent episodes of the Locked On Bets and Locked On MLB podcast. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week.